Ah,
Now they go want to know what we laughing about.
Yeah, they watching him. I want y'all to watch him. Just look at him.
how you doing out there, Miss Sylvia? Y'all and Linda Lander. We just cutting up a little bit here today, having a good time. Good to see you.
Yeah, yeah.
Pastor Norman's over on the other side. You look at him. Yeah, he wave at you.
Hello, Sylvia, Linda.
Sylvia. What
Yeah, actually her name is Sylvia. We call her Dee Dee.
All right.
Hey, Dee Dee.
Sylvia looked just like her mom last time I saw her.
Hey, Linda.
Miss Linda. Everything's straight.
My husband's acting up. So I couldn't go live because he's too busy acting up.
Yeah, that's all right. Don't worry about it.
Well, I mean, maybe he's demonstrating the joy of the Lord. Maybe that's the topic for the day.
Is that what it is?
Hold on, I got something to tell you. I got something to tell all of you. Now that would make you bake a cake.
Oh yes.
You think about Norma's mom, she's probably baking up a bunch of cakes.
Oh yes. I made a phone call to her today.
Hold on for a minute.
Put my order in for this weekend.
That feels good.
Mm-hmm.
It does.
I got one more.
Well, go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it. Do it. Oh.
Dinner time, dinner bell. Okay.
Oh, Linda says she loves to carry on with the laughing. I'm not laughing.
Miss Linda, we're gonna have to get together with you. We're gonna have some fun.
He's laughing at himself. I'm not laughing, Linda.
We're gonna have some fun, Miss Linda. Don't worry about it. We got everything. We got everything under control.
Well, that's funny that you said that, Dad, because actually in 2 sessions that I've had with couples on this week, that has been one of the topics that I've been really enforcing. People have seemed to forget how to have fun, how to enjoy life, and of course, we're dealing with all this unrest and it's affecting people so many different ways. But I would just share with them once again that we oftentimes just put our focus on things that the world makes so important. You know, the dollar, you know, success, and all these different things. And of course, you guys, y'all can testify to this. I mean, because I am much younger than you guys, but
oh, really?
But anyway, that was just a joke. But anyway, I've learned through the process of life and evolution that life becomes more enjoyable when you focus on the simple things.
Yes, it does. It does. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. You can get too caught up with trying to make it extravagant or just the simplicity. There's a YouTube channel that I watch sometimes just when I want to just gear down, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's these 2 older people live out in a rural area and they cook everything outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
It's the most relaxing, simple, everything simple. There's nothing modernized. It's all, pretty primitive. And they cook everything outside and it looks so relaxing.
In the wintertime too.
Yes, and then they have all these chickens and dogs and ducks and
the
turkeys
deers and everything come around.
And cats and all kinds of animals. They're all playing around and doing things, and the birds and everything's just so natural.
And they get their water out of a stream somewhere down the hill somewhere.
Everything is so natural. It is really good to look at.
And the nomads, the nomad life of living is in caves, and they have chairs in their cave and stoves in their caves and they beds in their cave. Everything they do everything in the cave.
Wherever
They down to earth outside,
wherever they're living.
wherever they're living. Yeah, wherever they're living.
But yes, and you're right. The simplicity of life, finding that niche of simplicity, really helps people.
And when it's raining,
it removes a lot of stress.
And in Taiwan, I just looking on YouTube, when it's pouring down raining, I never seen so many umbrellas. They come out in the street just packed. You know what I mean? Just packed with umbrellas, and the rain. They love to walk in the rain.
Mm-hmm.
They like sitting in the dirt with no underwear on too.
I knew he was coming with something.
I don't know how we're gonna get through this session, but anyway, Linda. I had my eyes dilated, so I don't know if I'm looking at this correctly.
She can see me. That's all.
Because the light is really blaring. She says, "Good thing it's."
They told me the love is blind. She gonna stop. I'm gonna quit. I quit. I ain't gonna miss.
Because he ain't gonna let nobody say nothing. What did she say?
What did you say?
What did Linda say?
I don't know. Well, we're gonna find out.
Can you read it?
She said, "Carry on."
No, right here where it's lit up.
It reads,
"Good things."
Not smell a vision with all those animals.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see me? Look at the mind. She got that bedroom eye look at me.
I'm trying to keep them up. Trying to keep them open and at the same time keep the light out of them. The light is really bright to me.
Look here.
I'm not.
So let me ask this question. Because of the journey that you guys have taken and all that y'all experienced, what would you say is the ultimate point of arrival when it comes to classifying success in life? What would that be to you guys after all that y'all, through ministry, y'all have shared your stories concerning the church? Of course, I'm a product of Cornerstone as well, and so forth. But in your process of awakening, how would y'all describe success? What is success to you guys?
Do you want to answer? Because your answer may be different from mine.
I want to hear yours first.
No, I want you to go ahead.
No. I used to think that I had the definition of success. I don't. I can come up with something, but I want to hear what she has to say. She might say it and help me to communicate what I'm trying to say. So try.
Well, I'll start here with yesterday. I called Laverne early in the day. Usually I'll call her later in the evening, but I just felt impressed to call her early in the day.
Now this is good.
And I caught her at home, and she had been feeling not too good for the last couple of days, she said, with vertigo or something. And I could tell she was a little low in her spirit because, she just recently lost her husband. So I know she's still adjusting to that. But she, in the course of our conversation, of course, we helped to cheer her up a little bit. And she started to say that she was asking God, because of the recent transition with her husband, she was asking the Lord to let her know what really happens when a person crosses over, and to give her some specifics. She's really dealing with that now. And so she said she went to work. Of course, she does that consulting for the churches. And she was at a church where they had just lost one of the church mothers, and they were talking about it. And the lady that she was talking to just all of a sudden said to her that she had had a near-death experience. And in her near-death experience, she gave her details about what happened. She saw different planes of existence where you could go through. And all kinds of details that Laverne really needed the answer to.
Wow.
And Laverne was really glad and moved by the fact that God answered her prayer so quickly. and did it through that lady. And I said all of that to say this. I know that most of us, you asking about success, for some, you talk about the simple life. For some, they would classify success as having peace and being happy. Whatever made them happy, whether it be relationship, whether it be in a particular location of nature that they enjoy, or whether it be money and certain accomplishment of notoriety, or whether it be fame or whatever. It's different for each person.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized something when Laverne was talking to us. God was more concerned with Laverne's evolution than he was her happiness.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we pursue things that we think will make us happy, and we label that as success.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but in the case of looking from through the eyes of God, more so is the most important thing is the evolution of the being, and the happiness comes later.
Mm-hmm.
It's secondary, but most of us pursue happiness first.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't know if I answered your question. Just that's pretty much.
You did, and the only reason why I mentioned that is because, like I said, I've been doing a lot of Zoom counseling sessions this week, and a young couple that I'm taking them through premarital counseling. That was one of the amazing questions. I First of all, I was truly blessed by this couple. I mean, they're only 22 years old, and the energy that was emanating from them, it was unlike any other couples that I've counseled for years. I mean, it's as if they're on a great start.
So they're
And
ready. They're
huh?
ready.
Yeah,
So I
they're
think
ready.
they're ready. Hmm.
I actually shared with them is as if they were literally ordained and meant to be with one another. Literally, it just the way that they relate to one another. And like I said, they're young, just starting out and
Hmm.
so forth. And so, I just saw a lot of positive things from them, felt that. And
Good.
he asked me that question concerning at what point, especially when it comes to money, when is enough.
Mm.
And so we started talking about what is success really to an individual. All right. And you said it, Ma. Uh, all of us have our different ideas of what success is. But when it comes to the conditioning of the world, especially here in America, it's all about money. You see what I'm
Mhm,
saying? The
mhm,
measure of success, how much
mhm.
money you have in your checking and savings account, how much real estate you own,
Yes,
how
yes,
big the house is,
yes,
all those
yes.
different things.
And in the case of being preachers or pastors, how big is your congregation? How large
Exactly.
is your church? And what kind of car do you drive? And
Exactly.
how many churches do you have under you? And all of that, all of that. Yeah.
And I was open and very transparent. And I'm glad you mentioned that part because I did at one time, especially when the big thing about mega churches, and
Mhm.
now you're being called into ministry and you on this journey. And so when you keep watching that, then that becomes, the conditioning of the mind. That is
Yeah,
success. Or
yeah,
having a congregation of 20,000 members,
yes.
the big edifice and all those different things and so forth and so on. And I kind of bought into it, but it became a very stressful thing for me. All
Mhm,
right.
mhm.
And I love what you said concerning Laverne, and I was sharing that with so many people this week about evolution. It seemed as if it's a topic that we got away from.
Mhm.
And I was talking about my own personal evolution that I never really paid any attention of it. And
Yes.
since I would have to say 2020, in the midst of the pandemic, stuff
Mhm,
became more um, enlightening to me. I became
mhm.
more aware of me. I didn't realize I lost myself. And
Yeah.
so all the things that I once thought was measure of success no longer it didn't faze me no more. I'm not
Mhm.
interested in what kind of car I'm driving. I'm not interested in numbers that I may have at the church or whatever. I've come to a place of happiness and joy. Finally, I will have to say, for the sake of understanding, I finally, all these years, didn't realize I never was loving me.
Right. And you know, we talk about happiness and joy, which that's wonderful to have that experience. But as you, and I'm going to use my own human experience, as I've aged, my days I long for more than happiness. I long for contentment. Um Being okay with what's happening, because as you age there's so many things that come up in your life that you no longer have any control over, and challenges that you never thought you would have to face. And so, and not challenges that you can sit back and say, I think I can get out of this. No, these are challenges. Most of them are physical, and some are psychological, that don't go away with age. And so, uh, the sense of, some people who age have the sense of loneliness, that life is now passing me by, or they have physical challenges. I can no longer move like I used to, so I can't do the things I enjoy doing. And so and then you find yourself in a place also, when you have health challenges, of having to ask people to help you more. So there's a lot of adjustments that take place. So for those that are aging, success would be just to be content from one day to the next, where I'm okay with what's happening. So I put a post on Facebook yesterday, uh, about being willing to go through whatever you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
The willingness, face life with the willingness to go through it. And that I'm finding, especially at our age, and I speak of that because that's where we are. A younger person would probably not even think the way I'm thinking now, because they feel like they're strong enough to get through stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there's a certain benefit to aging, because now you're sober. You're more sober than you've ever been, and you, not because of your age, but the pandemic sobered you.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
now you have come to understand what's most important, and that to me is a success.
Wow. I
Yeah.
like that. I
Yeah.
like that.
Linda's chiming in. Let's see what she says. She says success is happiness. Can't find it in another. Have to find it in yourself. Our partners need to compliment us, not complicate us. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good. I love that, Linda.
Yeah. Yeah. And they very well said. Yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna have to take a picture of that. Don't let that go.
Oh, don't move it. Okay.
I have to
Now
take
you
a
didn't
picture of
answer
that.
what you thought success was.
I haven't come up with one.
You haven't come up with
I'm working
anything
with
yet?
one, but it seems like every time I think I come up with it, I lose it, uh, because this morning I was going through a very un unself identity, uh, and the accumulation of the 50 some years of being with you and doing the things that physically I'd never done. So I've always done things physically that was different than the average person. Uh, when I was in school, not being able to read like I wanted to and do what the other kids do. So there was a sadness about me until I got home. And when I got home, all I wanted to do was play with my toys. And the toys that I played with, I made them. And they were like what you see in the garage. They were toys that could actually, I've always wanted to take wood and make it act like it was metal. And I've always done that. So I was fulfilled by that. I was also fulfilled by uh, clothes and things like that. But then when I got old enough, uh, I thought I was happy because I was with somebody that I liked, and they left, and then I was living in a place that I thought I liked, and I added all these things up when I said I wasn't going to ever get married, and I married you, and it happened, and things started happening. Uh, you lost your family, I lost mine, and even though we didn't get along, that brought about sadness. But I was watching a on YouTube this maybe last night, and all these animals became lonesome because they owners, or what you might call them, left them for months, and they showed up, and the joy that I saw in these animals
Mm-hmm.
brought about a joy in me because I saw how they greeted each other. I'm trying to I'm trying to talk to you without dropping water out of my eyes, but then I had the experience of seeing Jesus. That was okay. That didn't seem like it lasted because I saw changes made. Uh, Certain friends that I had uh, after meeting him, stopped being around them, and I made her my running buddy and friend. And then there were moments when we had times that we each of us did things that I didn't like, so that was a sad moment. I spent a lot of time crying and grieving, and then I had a church, I had a building. I preached often. I traveled a lot. I was fulfilled in seeing people getting healed and miracles and blessings, and I still see that. When I'm in the store, I'm going through all of this because I'm saying that these things come and went. They come and go. And when I had them, I had the hundred some $1,000 a year. Something come in the mail. I noticed that in the bliss of the moment, it's happiness. Then when it's gone, happiness gone.
And that's a good point, because
Mm-hmm.
happiness that's connected to anything outside yourself is not true happiness. It can't be true happiness if it's based on anything happening.
But
As Linda said, it's got to come from within, and you've got to find your own way into that.
but even Miss Linda, I have found it within. I heard something said like this: just because you don't get what you want,
Mm-hmm.
God is not going just because you don't get what you prayed for.
Exactly.
God is not gone. And so I'm having to, I mean, I just come to the point where I told God I didn't like certain things happening the way it did. I don't like things the way it's happening now. But I noticed one thing that I said on part of my notes here, that yes, our happiness is inside of us, but there's a part of us inside that is not happy along with the happiness.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's
The
right.
happiness and the unhappiness seem to be
Coexist.
a back and forth things and feelings and emotions, having and not having, people being honest and dishonest, uh, people that you thought that were with you in this. Uh, I can look at you, and I can look at Pastor Green in Milwaukee. He just lost losing his building also, and
Oh, wow.
a lot of others, and we have ours, and a lot of the friends that we had, and when they were there, we happy. I played the music, the guitars. I never thought that I would get into that. The music make you happy, but the times in church make you happy. But then there's the sad moments of And it's always been an up and down happiness like this,
And
always.
yes, and that's what I mean when I say contentment and being willing to go through or facing life with the willingness to go through it, because this life in as being a human on the earth plane uh, is a constant rising up and deteriorating.
Mm-hmm.
And so we live for the rising up. But when it begins to deteriorate, that's when we have problems. And somewhere in between the two of those things, there's this uncertainty. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if it's going to stay the way it is or if it's going to end. And so we live in that in between place. And I read in Michelle Obama's last book, she said, happiness and uncertainty live in close proximity.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So we live in that in between space because we don't know when it's going to rise and when it's going to end. So that's learning to live in that rising and ending
Mm-hmm.
is the balance that we have to find that, to have that place of contentment, where contentment is not I'm happy and I'm joyful, and neither is it I'm sad or depressed. It's the in between. It's a level. It's a even keel. It's
Mm-hmm.
like it's going through life without being too excited or too disappointed.
Exactly. When you said that, it made me think about Paul. When Paul said he learned how to be content in whatever state that he was in.
Mm-hmm,
And so, of course,
mm-hmm.
we know Paul. He shared a whole lot of the trials, the sufferings that
Yes,
he had to
yes,
go through, especially after his experience and encounter with God and Himself, and all that happened following that. And
yes,
so, again, he was a well-educated man. He was
yeah,
wealthy. He was
yeah.
part of the religious group, the Pharisees. So he knew all of this. And
Mm-hmm.
when he came to the place of enlightenment, he pretty much lost it. And he even said, I count all things lost in order to gain the knowledge of Christ and so forth
That
and so
goes back to
on.
that evolution is more important to God than our happiness.
Mm-hmm.
I used to hear the old saying, all I need is Jesus. That is an overstatement.
Yeah, that's overgeneralized.
All I
Yes.
need is God. That's an overstatement.
Norman, read Linda's comment for me because my eyes are still blurry.
Couples need to bring happiness to a relationship to share, not expecting the other to make them happy because that becomes a babysitting job.
Lord have mercy, girl. Yeah, you need to
That's a
put
true
that on a
statement. Yeah, I
t-shirt.
like that.
Yeah, put that on a
I,
t-shirt.
I have to meet Linda. I have to meet Linda.
Oh
She,
my
she
God.
is joy.
Linda's a hoot. She's a hoot, I tell you. I'm gonna see if I can find a. Go ahead and talk, you guys. I'm gonna see if I can
Yeah,
find something and show
but
you.
and the reason, like I said, I asked that, and it's a word, and it came up several times on this broadcast thus far, and I think that is something that needs to be highlighted. We talk about the awakening and all of that, but this
Mhm.
word evolution keeps coming up, and
Yes.
it's funny because I just thought about that today. I had to run an errand real quick and come back to get on the broadcast. And I was in my car and I thought about that. Why is this word evolution keep coming up over and over again? And so
Uh-huh.
I think, especially with the topic, living in an atmosphere of change, I think many of us, we need to become aware of our evolution. I don't think a lot of people are really paying attention or aware that they are evolving. And so it's causing them
Mhm.
to be uncomfortable. It's causing them to be moody, to be up
Yeah.
and down in their
Yeah.
emotions because they have not taken an opportunity to be still and
Yeah.
become aware I am evolving. And we have to understand when you are evolving, it is actually a, for the sake of understanding, I really don't want to use this word, but when we evolving is actually a positive or good thing or beneficial thing that's actually happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't understand, when you're evolving, you're not going backwards, you're actually going forward.
Yes. Yes.
Mm.
That's right.
Yeah.
So the evolution is, I said this about Laverne in talking about that after we hung up from her, that had her husband lived, the questions or the prayer that she's been praying would not have been prayed. So everything, as I've said, is purposeful, even those things that appear to be negative. It brought her to those questions. And so it was necessary, even though it was tragic. So that's the way I'm learning to see life now. It's even though they're negative things, they have purpose in bringing us to a certain level of evolution. And so I'm learning to accept things as they are. Not that I don't have reactions. I have reactions like everybody else, but when I have the reactions, there's a part of me that realizes that this, even as negative as it feels, is necessary for me to see whatever I need to see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The power of the ability of awareness seeing, if it was completely unveiled, the full strength of being beyond, we are, what that statement I made this week, we are beyond
You said we're beyond existence.
existence.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
When I go back and look over certain things, if I was awake then like I am now, a lot of the people that I were around and touched would not have been touched, because everybody helps each other to wake up. Now, if you were to see clearly,
That's Linda.
That's Linda.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, finally, I got a face
Yeah,
to
that's
put
Miss
for
Linda.
today.
That's her.
So
That's
now
little,
you got
that's
a
the little
picture
Linda.
of who Linda is.
Yeah.
I find myself happy when I talk to my baby girl, and I find myself sad when she is coughing and she's having some physical problems. But I can find myself in her when I take her nose and put it up to mine and look inside of her eyes and tell her, I see you.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And in response to what Linda mentioned about couples, a lot of times we bond over our pain,
Uh-huh.
or we'll bond over our pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
We'll bond over our story, our history. So as we progress in a relationship, if we think the other person is there to complete us, then the relationship is doomed to fail.
Exactly.
If we think that person is supposed to meet every need, it's doomed to fail.
Exactly.
If
Exactly.
we think love is possession, it's doomed to fail, because most of us we start relationships based on an addiction. That person meets some need, whether it be emotional, psychological, sexual, whatever. That person meets some need, even a spiritual need. And if at any point our bonding is based on those needs being met and that person no longer does it, the relationship is doomed to fail.
Exactly. Exactly. You know,
that
it's
my
funny
third,
that you said that, because that's one of the things that I share in my premarital counseling sessions, or just Maximize Marriage. That's the name of the sessions that I do. That's one of the things that I tell them. There's oftentimes a familiar experience that they have had that was used to kind of bring them together. It could be something very positive.
Mhm.
And it also could be something very negative or destructive. You
That's-
know, there
yeah.
are couples that found um, a place of solitude, um, both coming from two different dysfunctional environments where they're witnessing
Mhm. Mhm.
abuse, and because they were able to support one another as they was going through all of that, they end up becoming attached.
Exactly.
Then later on, because it was never dealt with and so forth, now what they was running away from, and they found their comfort in one another, and then they became
Mhm.
fall in
Mhm.
love. Now they married, and now the pattern that they was running from is now happening within their relationship.
Yeah. 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 And then relationships evolve, and what because they evolve, the two relate to one another differently as time goes on.
As I remember, I decided, it's kind of hard to say I decided and not understand who decided this. As the veil begins to open, and it is split from top to bottom, open up, I begin to see God in places that I don't want to.
Mhm. Mhm.
To me, that's unhappy, but it is another kind of happiness. I wrote something here about happiness that may strike you a little bit, some of you.
Yeah.
And this uh, salvation is something that we thought come and go. And when I found out that forgiveness is what we're made out of,
Yeah.
but there's another part of us that can not ever forgive. It don't want to forgive. So what I had to do in order to live with happiness and unhappiness is to be able to stand off at a distance and see both of them. I don't like taking
Yeah,
sides.
you became a witness of
Yeah.
it. Yes.
I take sides with both of them, both parts, because I'm able to see both parts, but at the same time, I can tell that being able to see both of them is not me at all.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot walk, and here's one I wrote this down. We cannot walk away from our true identity. Don't care whether we're happy or unhappiness. You once you find these things out, once you touch life, you cannot go back to death.
True.
But if you go back to death, you're gonna find out how happiness and unhappiness stand side by side to each other. And you and I have heard over the years how certain sages could quiet their mind down. And what we need to quiet our mind down for is so that we can see clearly.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Our life and many others, and Miss Linda, thank you so much. All of you for being a part of the lives of each other so that we can see both sides and find out that forgiveness is eternal. Forgiveness don't ever stop forgiving just because unforgiveness is
present.
also
It's present.
present. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, Forgiveness is not turning your back on unforgiveness, because I found out that the eternal self, which means we got to go to it. We're going to have to go to heaven in unforgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
I told my therapist about everything that was going on the other side, about why he came here, and he sat there and listened to me. And my time was up, and he stopped and asked me, said, "Do you have any more to tell me?" I did, but I didn't. I didn't tell him. because I always tell people you got another 50 years, I could talk. I don't been talking so much in my sleep. My wife tell me that she wish I'd shut up. And I told her yesterday that I wish I could. I told my own mouth to shut up. Um, I get tired of hearing me, hear this thing. The ability of forgiveness is not blind to unforgiveness. The eternal self is ready 24/7 as the form of forgiveness. I'm not saying everything I want to. I'm trying to say it in one word, and it's hard to do. This forgiveness is what everybody on earth have always been. There has not been anybody that come from the womb to be born that is not a forgiving being.
Mm-hmm.
And when I see the whole side of this, and then like we talking now, and then we'll shut down and we'll go off and we'll come back on Sunday. I don't like that. I don't like the shutdown and the cranking up. I don't like that because to me that's sad. Uh, Anybody can talk as much as I do ought to be glad to get their mouth shut. So I laugh and cut up a lot of times
to hide the pain.
Mm-hmm. The term coming out of the mouth will never forgive you when it talks too much. Your mouth will never forgive itself for talking less or talking too much.
And I a lot of times I have to remind him it's not his mouth, it's his mind. It's the mind, not his mind, but the mind.
Talk. I mean,
it is constantly talking. And I'm not talking about you. It's like that in everyone.
Well, I can say that
out loud, others don't.
I've been considered to be I can talk. That pretty much I'm very talkative. And you know, at one time, especially being a preacher, you know, when he call you long-winded, Dad, you experienced that as well. Yeah. And to me, at one time, it was very offensive to me. Very offensive when someone would say that to me. Okay, I'm just expressing or teaching or preaching, whatever, you know, whatever, and so forth, until I discovered, you know, in scripture that most of the prophets were very long-winded and very talkative. That's why they was considered major prophets. But I was very offended by that because I know that it's not the real me, but all I was doing was just being me.
You were anyway.
When we preach or minister, even when we do the broadcast, it don't even seem as if we have been talking that length of time or we've been on that long. It just seemed like time slipped away, and you're like, wow. And you didn't realize that. And so I
have a theory. Not to cut you off, I'm sorry.
Oh no, you could, Mom.
But I have a theory that, and today I kind of had some understanding about it when I was leaving the eye doctor after they dilated my eyes. What hurts the eyes after you have the dilation is its ability it's open so wide that it can receive all the light that's there. And having so much light actually blinds you. And so I feel that that's a parallel to us in the area of spirit as well. When there is so much light that you have taken in, you have so much that you could say and that you would like to say, not even knowing how to say it, but you just have that much light. And it is, I remember when Paul had his conversion experience and he was blind for what, 3 days? The light of what he saw and what he experienced and discovered blinded him to the point they had to pray for him to get his eyesight back. So we are walking in so much light. We don't realize how much light we are walking in. Not only walking in, but we are that light. And it is so bright that is actually blinding us to a lot of things. And so we're trying to get out, and I watch him struggle to try to get stuff out that he's seen and trying to find words for it. It's difficult. It's really, really difficult. It's like me trying to drive my car today when I had my eyes dilated. It's difficult. You guys, you have so much in you that can be said.
Wow.
And you're passionate about it.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Very passionate. So, like when the three of us get together here, it's like we vying for time. One of us wants to talk, the other one wants to talk too. I mean, it's hard to hold it because there's so much in you.
Wow, Ma, that is a great analogy. So now that brings clear understanding when we are making the attempt to share what we have been oppressed with and what has waken up in us, that, and be all honesty, we can't share all of ourselves or all that we know, or the revelation and insight. Because I thought about like a computer or a robot. Too much information at one time will cause a shutdown.
Shut the whole thing down. Yeah.
Wow, Ma, that is good.
Yeah. So it's like there has to be a temperance that comes in. I don't know what is used as that temperance, but that temperance comes in just to because the three of us, and you and Dad particularly, you're so animated. And when you start talking, it is coming like this, you lose sight of time. You lose sight and awareness of other people and what they might want to say. It's just not there. And it's understandable. It's very understandable for you to be that way.
Listen to this. She asked me today or last night, I'm going to be candid with all of you. This is grown folks talk. She said, have you ever made a booty call?
That was yesterday.
Oh, yesterday?
Yes.
Okay. I had to think.
Have you ever had a time when you sought a woman out just for the booty call?
That's the same thing, booty call.
Yeah.
And I really didn't want to answer her because I never want to. I have tried to talk to her about things like that, and I didn't know how to say it with respect of our marriage.
Yeah.
And therefore I choose not to discuss certain things. Now I can look at her and tell every move that she made. If she called that, she said she dated this guy, don't you call his name. I can see, and this is the sad thing about seeing. When she tell me the name or start, I can see the incident immediately. I can trail her behind a dark room when she say with a certain guy or she with a certain friend. I can see it. She don't say no more. I remember. But here's the thing: it is.
But now I have to say that. Let me say this: some of those times you say you saw it, there was nothing to see. There was nothing to see.
She always try to justify. Okay.
But let me tell you why I asked him that. Because I was looking at a video with Eckhart Tolle's wife, Kim Eng, and she was dealing with this young lady who had a relationship with a young man. And the girl was trying to find out how she could come to a place of peace in herself. And she wanted to see this young man more often, but she was only seeing him 2 times out of a month. And so, yeah. And Kim Eng told her, said, I don't know about you, but that gives me a lot of red flags. So she was giving her very good spiritual information, but she was actually saying to her, perhaps you are a booty call. She didn't say it that way, but that's exactly what she was saying. So that's why I asked him that question.
And I gave her the answer to 1 or 2 of them. I went to their house, and and when I got there at the house, I mean, I said it's things did happen, but then sometimes I went, did anything happen? But I always say it like this. Now here's the strangest thing about this eternal forgiveness. And I've tried it, but it did to me what happened to Jesus in Judgment Hall. They spit on him, they slapped him, and did everything and say, prophesy, who did this? If you are the Christ. I met one girl. I didn't never have any personal relationship with her. I tried, but it didn't work. But what I wanted to do was ask her to forgive me for trying. Really.
This was years after the fact.
Years when I wasn't even in the I was working. I was in school.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw this girl at a car dealership, and I don't know what to say out of her, trying to get some sugar, and I never did. And I got under conviction when I saw her because I was wrong. My conscience bothered me. I was wrong.
You have a very sensitive conscience.
And I saw her at the car place, and I said, Miss Donna, I said, can I talk to you? I knew in her face.
Linda said she's made booty calls.
Yeah, I laughed at that when I saw it pop up.
I think everybody's made a booty call once in a while.
And so when I got ready to look at her, I could tell.
That's an experience. I don't know.
Yeah, you've never made.
Well, you need to have 1 4 or 5.
No.
Yeah, you do. Don't. Yeah, you do. You ain't normal if you. That's why your mama gave you your name, Normal. You're normal. No, you ain't normal. So I saw the girl and I walked up to her and I said, I seen two of them. I said, and that's something that comes to mind right now that I never have anything to do with them personally, but I want to ask them to forgive me for the trying of it. And I've seen certain ones out in restaurants that I wanted to say, I was wrong. Please forgive me. I didn't do anything with them. I was wrong for the ideal of going to their house just for that. And I never wanted, I've always been a relationship person, and I never wanted to do anything like that to people until, see, what changed that in me was the forgiveness of eternal forgiveness. Another thing that changed me in this is that I found out that when you do certain things with a sensitive conscience, that stuff repeats itself in your head. The time that I shot at a girl in a house with a gun, that thing has been repeated. It's a PTSD over and over for 50 years, 70 years, it seemed like. It's 100 years, it keeps repeating itself over and over in my head. Yeah, and yet I know that it's not me, it's the mind doing it, it's the thing.
I wanted to say this. Just as we inherit physical body conditions from our families, we also inherit psychological mind conditions from our parents, our ancestors. I'll say it like that. And so, I said that to say this: his family have a tendency of holding on to those kinds of things. So he's susceptible to it. I was talking to my nephew the other day, and his dad, of course, he's passed now, but his dad died from drugs and alcohol. And in his family, there's all this drugs and alcohol. Mm-hmm. And so Russell knows, because he had a tendency to drink, and he knows that he's susceptible to that same condition.
Exactly.
And so he's made it a point to not drink. He stops drinking. Now, this isn't a young man who's doing it because he feels like the Lord is against him, or the Lord will be mad at him, or church won't like it. This is just his own moral compass taking place inside of him.
Like that.
So he decided, I can't drink like that. So he knows if he takes a drink, he can't do it very often. So he had to recognize and be aware that there are tendencies that were genetically placed there that cause him to have to look at things differently and say no to some things, because his mom, your mom did the same thing. She held
I
on
just
to
heard that come from my
every,
head.
she held on to everything that happened to her. Everything.
Mhm.
To the point that it was still like it's happening right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I told this girl, I said, "Look, I'd like to apologize to you and ask you for forgiveness." I didn't get a chance to finish. She turned around, and looked at me, and cussed me out.
Because she didn't want you to bring that up.
She said, "What the so and so you talking about?" And she went to walking. I said, "Well, Humpty my Dumpty."
So sometimes some things are better left
I
alone.
say, yeah. And
So you're telling me that years later you went to apologize just because of the sensitivity
yeah,
Mhm.
and the conviction that you
yeah,
felt,
Mhm.
and she
because I scarred her.
You thought you scarred her.
And I did.
You didn't. That's what she was mad about. You did not. She didn't want you to bring it up because she's gotten past it.
Mom, I can identify with that because I have that same tendency to take on something or feel a certain way about something, like I hurt somebody or I did something to
And a
somebody,
lot of times they're not hurt.
and I actually didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But like when you mention that, because and because of the evolution again that I've been going through, I knew that I was a highly sensitive person, highly sensitive. Not just animated talkative, but highly sensitive at one time. And then I came to terms with that because it would get in the way, just like Dad. I would feel certain things about, and it wasn't even that reality. It wasn't. It was
So,
just something I was feeling.
so is it possible that when we feel a certain way, we assume that other people feel that way too?
Exactly.
And they
Exactly.
don't. And they don't.
Exactly.
Many times they do not.
But here's what has got uh, a door that's open to us. When I found out this is the only thing that has kept me going, in spite of the anger, the crazy suicidal thoughts, and murder and shooting and banging and all that stuff. If I did not find out that the Holy Spirit was more than just 1/3 of the Godhead,
Mhm.
and that Jesus was the 2/3 of it, and the Father was the whole. If I hadn't found out the truth about me, when I heard Muja say, "We are the Holy Spirit," that woke up inside of me like the brightest light. God Himself woke up
Mhm.
inside of my being, and I knew then that I could never talk about the Holy Spirit or God like He was separate and apart from me. I don't care how sensitive my conscience, how wrong I was, how bad I feel, how sick I am. I found out where God was, and I never have to look for Him again.
Yes.
I don't want to talk to anybody that's looking for Him. I've been out. If you're going to talk to me about looking for God, I want to say, shut up, but I keep to myself. I said, why are you standing there talking to God about Himself, and He's you standing there doing the talking about Himself?
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now that's just the
And
way it is.
but it has to wake up in the
Yeah,
as it woke up
I
inside of
know.
you.
And let me
Yes.
hold it for a minute. That's what felt like inside. That's what it felt like. I got to ring the bell. I mean, it. Let me tell you something. When I've sat there and I watched those track stars, those girls running track. I looked at the time through them. I ran in the Junior Olympics 9.5 and 10.5, and like they run it now. And I can't hardly get my leg up on my bicycle.
So
And
now you dealing with something that
oh,
is
Yeah.
that's become a sensitive area for you.
oh shit.
Very, very, very sensitive.
But I
Oh,
want to revisit that statement, Mark, because
oh,
I also noticed something else. We will feel a certain way about something, and we will assume,
yeah.
and then it's not even a reality. It's not even true.
That's
No,
right.
it's not
Not
true.
only that,
It's not
we
true.
will want so desperately to project that.
And that's
Mhm.
what's happening.
Mhm.
More than anything, there's a projection from our
Exactly.
mind, because if I were that person, this is how I would feel.
Mhm.
But
Exactly.
that's not how everybody feels. Everybody does not feel or process things the way we do. A lot of times, especially if we have a sensitive conscience or we're sensitive in those areas, because we'll think that they have been they've been sensitized as well as we have, and they had a lot of times they pushed it off. It's gone.
Pastor, I remember coming down after your church in the school or gymnasium auditorium, wherever it was. I remember step by step, I walked up to your grandmother, not knowing what I was going to say to her. And it does not affect me to not know what to say to anybody. I looked at her and I told her what I said about Jesus in her, get up.
Mhm.
And she got up and walked. That is
That moment,
moments like that.
that moment to you was success.
That is the
Yes.
success that I crave 24/7.
Yeah.
I
When
remember. I remember.
now, when I heard about Laverne's husband, Johnny, he came here. I talked to him. I did the wedding. I married, put them together. I remember times when cancer would stand in front of me and I would not allow it to exist.
Mhm.
But since I found out who Jesus was when he made the statement in Judgment Hall, thinkest thou, before he got that, thinkest thou not that I can pray to the Father, and he shall presently give me more than 12 legions of angels? He said I could take it or leave it. I don't like to take it and have to leave it. I don't like to leave it when I can take it.
Mm-hmm. I know.
When
I
I
know.
found out that I could take from people that hurts them, and found out that taking it from them may not be the best thing for them.
That's the realization that we
The
came to.
pain that I
Yes.
felt 54 years ago has never left from the heart of Jesus.
Yeah.
You don't want to see that. You don't want to see it. You don't want to see it. You don't want to see it. You don't want to see his heart.
Yes, you do.
Oh,
Yes, you do.
it was broke. It was hurt. Everything that you read in this book and everything that this says about, when I tell people in the council room, every religious leader in the universe is in a meeting right now as we speak, universally, in the Hall of Record and the Universal Archives of God. They are in a conference 24/7, never sleep. They are in constant, facilitators are on the ball 24/7. They never rest from the job of exporting and importing souls back and forth into this story and dream. Millions of them. I saw it. You will never understand a like being until you fully leave this world. Like Jesus said, I'll leave this world and I go into the Father and you see me no more. That wasn't physical.
Right.
That wasn't physical.
Right.
That was a seeing of his true self, of oneness with every being on the earth. And when I saw the Lamb in heaven, as it took away the sin, took away the pain, that Lamb is talking 24/7 out of the heart of every last one of us. And when you come to face with a person that's dying, unless you understand that that's Jesus in the bed, unless you understand that that's him going to see himself, unless you understand the full impact, you're not going to make it. You wouldn't be able to exist. The only one that I know that can exist in all of this stuff that we're talking about is the Nazarite himself.
And that has been the
It's terrible.
place
It's terrible.
in our lives where we've had to find how to reconcile,
It's a good terrible.
because that we used to have, and we still do in certain times, the uh, wherewithal and the unction, the gumption to attack that we believe is wrong that's happening to another person.
Mm-hmm.
We have that, but we also have now the understanding that it has to be done when it's the right time.
Yes.
And if it's in knowing that it may conflict with their life script,
Yeah.
that now placed a hesitancy in us to jump it.
Mm-hmm.
But the want to is still here.
Gotcha.
It's still here.
There was a lady that had a husband who died.
Now, Norma wanted to say something.
I'm just yeah. Go ahead, sir. Go
Well, I
ahead.
had a question. We talk a lot about the script. Would you say that there are times that we may, or just anybody, try to change the script?
I believe that there.
What did he say that again? I missed part of it.
Ask it again
I
for
asked a
that.
question that we talk a lot about the script,
Yeah.
things that have been preordained
Yeah.
and so forth. We're following a script.
Yeah.
Do you believe that there are times where we or anyone have tried literally to change the script?
Yes, yes. And there are times when they can. There are clauses in our script
Thank you.
where we have optionals.
Thank
We
you.
have options.
That's
Uh,
right. Oh wow.
and we think of God's will, the will and purpose of our lives as being one trajectory, but it's like when light hits a prism, it goes like this.
Yes.
So there's possibility for your life to take any trajectory based on choices. And those choices they're really not choices because they're already predetermined before you make them.
Mhm.
However, when those options come up, you decide the trajectory that you're going to go into. And so, yes, there are clauses in our script where we are at some point given the option to change what's happening. There are also time frames and demarcations and all of those things in our script where and also deadlines, times when things end in our script. So there's all of that's in our life script.
I feel like, and I mean, I know y'all have done it before. That's interesting to me. I think that'd be interesting to so many other people that
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
we have a serious discussion and talk about that.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. And because Jesus' script was very, very detailed, he had a point of his where he came into his enlightenment. He had a point where he had a level of commitment that had to be made.
Mhm.
There were different parts of the script.
He said, "Remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not as I,
Mhm,
but that the works of God would be seen and glorified."
mhm,
Now,
mhm.
and watch this. Let me tell you something. I don't know what I've ever talked to you about. You may have seen it. When I started out in this thing, one of the first things I wanted to do, not knowing anything about a script, I said to God inside and out, no. I said, no, no, no. This is not going to take this person out.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Then there were times that I stood in front of families in the congregation on the left side of the church, and I said to them, "Where is your brother? Do you have him?" They said, "He's the such a place." I said, "Get your black suit ready because he's getting ready to cross over."
Mhm. So
Mhm.
you were able at that point somehow to intuitively know what their script
Yeah.
was. Yes.
Lay hands suddenly on no man.
Mhm.
Now, this is the reason why I say before you pray for anybody, you need to know something beyond the physical. There was a spirit man that had a tremendous healing ministry named Dinagar. He was in India.
Wow.
What's what you got an itch on your head?
Something just hit me. Dealing with the script and what you, Mom, would you just describe how Dad operate? It gave me even a more heightened awareness concerning that which we call prophetic. There could be no revelation if something has not already been written.
Exactly.
That's like renewing a prescription.
Yes.
And that's what we're not catching in the church. We're acting as if this is something new that's coming up or something, but nothing. If something is revealed, it has already been written.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the prophetic, the revelatory gifts, the word of wisdom, the word of knowledge, that is having access to something that has already been written.
Yeah, so you're simply reporting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me give you this, and I know our time is we're way over our time, but let me give you this, just something for you to think about. In our contract, there's an objective to our contract, which is what you need to master in life. Okay, the things that's needed for you to master in your life. Options to exercise at will, your either or choices. Okay. Then there is your eligibility. That's written into your contract. That's where you have benefits as one makes better choices, or what we would call conditional blessings. And then there's demarcations written into your contract, which are requirements and responsibilities for progressive development. Okay. And then there's expirations in your contract, which is the time frame to exercise those different options. Okay. Allotted times. Then there are penalties written into your contract, which are consequences of anything that is done or not done. Karmic debt is accumulated at that point. And then there are other contracts with other people, soul contracts, subcontracts within the contract, plans to help and develop everybody else's and your greatest potential, a life course to learn many lessons. So there's and then in those soul contracts, they may have been karmically connected based on emotional energies. They may be decided to come here as a team to work to accomplish a common cause. Or then there's soulmates or twin flames where they work together to cause things to happen. So it's all of that's written into the contract.
Okay. Chance email all that to me.
Yeah. So the contract is not just, it's not a little bitty thing. It's very intricate, very intricate. So when I'm praying for someone, all of this, I may be interfering with all of that.
See, that happened to me where we was praying for a pastor. We really believe he was battling cancer. And I never forget this. That Sunday morning when I got things was going through my head and I was preaching, and I heard literally concerning his prayers. We've been praying for this man to be healed, delivered, and set free. Mm-hmm. And the Lord said to me, you don't even know if that's what he wants.
There you go.
And sure enough, after I said it, wasn't 5 minutes later, Gwen got the text message that he had just passed.
Yeah. A lot of people hold on because we try to keep them here.
And when I was in the factory, this guy was out around water. He was fishing and he fell in the water and he drowned. They went out and pulled him out of the water, brought him up on the land, and started pumping the water out of him. And somebody, in order to get the water out of him, they had to hit his belly and do his mouth and all that kind of stuff, and throw his head back, and water just skeeting out of him. And so they said that joker come back, and he said, "What in the hell are y'all doing?" He said, I was getting ready to go into the light, and I looked around and I heard y'all calling me back. He said, y'all done lost y'all damn mind. I didn't want to come back over, and y'all called me back. Now I got to put up with this again.
Wow.
Being candid with you now.
That's a true statement.
Yeah.
I've been in that place where I was standing at the podium of God with a lady on the other side. Before she came over here, was taught how to read Braille. Jesus was teaching her how to read Braille, and he was running her hand over the language on the Braille stuff, and she wanted her husband to get a transfer to something to come over from his country over here, a passport or whatever it was, and he couldn't get it. So what he was doing was running her hand over the Braille through her hand so she could read with her hands the answer to this prayer. And I set it up like this so that this could take place for her to get it. She was a teacher, but she didn't know how to read Braille, and he taught her in heaven how to read Braille before she got over here. And her husband, from what I heard, came home.
Y'all just gave another dimension,
oh Lord,
concerning prayer in itself, because basically what we have been presented when it comes to prayer, quote unquote, in the church, is that we're asking God to do something, and so forth. And in all actuality, that is not what prayer really is. When we pray, our prayers only become effective if we have had revelation of the script.
Well, go back to what you said about revelation. It's something that has already been written.
Exactly.
So if I have a prayer, I pray for someone to live and not die, and they live, it's already written in their contract that they were going to live anyway.
Now, here's the clue. Here's what discernment.
Well, I'm about to pop right now, and here's
where discernment inclusive itself into the oneness. It is an inclusive discernment.
Yeah.
The more you wake up to who you are, the more you'll be able to read clearly purpose and destiny standing in front of your face. The less you read and can read is like a blind person trying to pray for somebody to have a Coca-Cola when your eternal self said, no, I want them to have a Pepsi.
Yeah. So in actuality, when you receive a prophetic word or intuition about something, it's because if it's about yourself, you just got a glimpse into your own contract.
Linda said,
and you've read it.
Yeah.
Or you've got access into someone else's contract in order to give them a word because you just read what's in their contract.
Okay.
So that tells me even more. That is why Jesus made this statement when any situation of a person needing to be healed, a miracle to be manifested, he said this was only done for his Father to be glorified. So it was already planned.
That the scripture should be fulfilled. Yes.
Now,
yes.
If you could have been standing.
Now, wait a minute, because Linda's been chiming in, and she's wanting to say something. She said, I'm confused about the contract. If there is only one, who is the contract with? The contract is with the one.
It's with all of us.
It's with the one.
It's all of us. It's the one. It's one contract for all of us.
I think we need to get on this topic.
And so, Linda, I have to say that when we speak of oneness and the one, it is not a cosmic thing for us because coming from a Christian background, God is more material than that. And so we see God as an other, but not an other at the same time. And so when we talk about it, we realize that as a creation from God, a derivative from God, we still, like the sun gives off rays. You could say we're like the rays that come from the sun, but we're not the sun, but we are the sun. Does that make sense? It's like we are the sun, but we're not the sun. And the sun is still the sun. And it's the same thing with when we talk about God and oneness and all of this. So there is a contract, a sacred contract that was collaborated before coming into these bodies.
Now, we are in this position of waking up more precisely. The axe is sharp on, firemen have these axes where they can cut backwards and forward. They got two blades on each end.
Two-sided.
This is where we are.
That's a good example.
Yeah. And when you get into this thing, he said to me, the Spirit said, you can say to a man that down the road about 50 miles from now, you get ready to run in the ditch. And you just stay there and watch him. But he said, God gave his son, gave Jesus into the hands of sinful men to be crucified. He gave himself, put himself into the hands of people deliberately for them to encounter him. Oh, here we go. I felt it popping. Because somebody's on this site now, I'm changing them. You're changing them also. When I change, you change.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain people that I must see today, not knowing, but this little bit. I'm going to change their life by passing them. Jesus changed a woman's life that had the issue of blood, and he was not actually entangled with her personally, but just coming into the vicinity of her. He was the bodily contract. We are each other's missing piece of the puzzle, bodily, physical contract. Yeah. If we don't do anything but say, look, send us $100 a piece, send us nothing, you don't owe us anything, that changes people. Or it could not. But I'm going to tell you something. This stuff that we're talking about is stronger than kryptonite.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you can shake it. Jesus said, if the same spirit, Paul said, if the same, Peter, we don't care who it was, if the same spirit dwell in you that dwell in Jesus, it shall quicken you. All right. If the same spirit dwell in me that dwell in him, I'm going to be able to touch the quick. I'm going to be quick oriented. Quick meaning I'm going to bite my fingernail down to the quick. And when you get down to the quick,
that's where it's sensitive.
It's sensitive. He said that same spirit that caused Jesus quick to be activated.
The
sensitivity of that quick.
The sensitivity.
The same thing will raise you from the dead. The raising from the dead is being able to see God. Oh, glory.
Oh, and I want to say, we desperately need to quit. But anyway, I wanted to say this, that love late for Linda's sake. I want to say this.
Miss Linda?
I had I don't say a misconception. I had a concept of what oneness was at one point, and it was still materialistic in the sense I was still seeing two, but coming in, and then now it's just one disappearing. But now I'm understanding that one, when we say one, it's not actually a one with, because to say with, there's still two. But oneness is the same as.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when you think of oneness, it means we are the same as our God.
Yeah.
The same as our Father. When we take on a name being married, if I go to any business transaction, I'm still a Sawyer. So we're still one. Even though there's two consciously, there's two, we are one because it's the same as.
Well, I used to tell
we present them to the congregation after they're married. Remember, that's what we said.
Yeah.
We were saying Mr. and Mrs. Clifton E. Sawyer.
I told everybody in my church, Pastor, I said, I have some sad news to tell y'all. And
you're going to make a joke.
And they all just sit there and look, and they wait to see what I was going to say. I said, you see this woman standing up here beside me? Your pastor is sleeping with her. And will y'all pray for him that he'll get through this? That's it right there.
Oh Lord, then we gotta quit. I hope we answered your question. And look, I don't want you to think that we know all the answers. We do not. And there are times when we will float from being that other into being the one, and just hang in there with us, and maybe we'll give you some explanation of how we see things. But this is where, coming from a Christian point of view, it's really different than the person who has not gone the path that we've gone on. When they come into oneness, it's a difference than those who think of Christ as some cosmic energy. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing for us.
The doctor said to me, I said, Doc, I said, my urologist, I said, Doc, I said, I want to be like I was when I was 16 with my wife. He said, how are you now? I said, well, we have occasions on Sunday, you know. And he said, what you need to do is go to church more often.
Now, that did not need to be in here.
Now I put that in there.
I know you're gonna always go there.
Yeah, and you know why I say that? I say that because
thank you, Norman. Hide your face, because I need to hide mine.
I told the doctor, I said, you know, I'm saying this for the sake of this. As you get older, your discernment, insight will change. Your values will change. The way you see yourself. You know, I tell everybody, when I didn't realize how pretty I was when I was young, but now that I got older,
we didn't know.
I got cute. I got really cute.
Yeah, we realize now how pretty we were.
Don't say nothing, girl. Don't you say nothing. I often look at that picture upstairs. I said, look at that pretty boy. Then I go in the other room, look at the other one. I said, no.
Say, who is that looking back at me?
I tell that thing, get out my face.
Linda, we're gone, sweetheart.
Linda, we love else? You've been right down the line with us.
And Antoinette, thank you for being with us today. If you're still hanging in there. I know Dee Dee went back to work.
Sylvia said she's coming over here today. Yeah,
she did. She mentioned that. So we love you guys. We'll see you again next week at 12:30, Lord willing.
Thank you for the
Impromptu. Gifts. Thank you, Pastor Norman. It was a great conversation today.
Anytime.
Yeah.
I ain't finished with this.
Well, we know you're never finished.
You're
never finished.
You know that.
And we apologize for going so much longer, but it was good.
Yes, it was. It was.
We went an hour and a half.
Yeah.
That's not a long time for you.
It don't seem
but it is a long time to be online. Anyway, we'll see you guys next time. We love you. Pastor Norman will be, you doing your live stream at 11 now?
On Sundays, 11.
Sunday at 11, and then ours will be at 10. We look forward to seeing you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.